Hello and welcome to episode 10 of Wrestling in 1990. Today we will be covering the Mexican wrestling promotion EMLL. And as we always do, we will start with the champions going into 1990 and buckle up, there's quite a list. First up, we will start with the three top titles in EMLL. They're all NWA World titles. The first one, the NWA World Welterweight Championship, is held by Fuerza Guerrera. The NWA World Middleweight Championship is held by Angel Azteca. And the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship is held by Fabuloso Blondie. Other titles in EMLL include the Mexican National Heavyweight Championship, held by Papidicus. I probably butchered that name very badly. The Mexican National Light Heavyweight Championship is held by Moger. Probably butchered that name pretty badly too. The Mexican National Lightweight Champion is Guerrero Samurai. The Mexican National Middleweight Champion is El Dandy. The Mexican National Tag Team Champions are Angel Azteca and Atlantis. The Mexican National Trios Champions are Los Temerarios. This is the trio of Black Terry, Jose Luis Feliciano, and Shu El Guerrero. And finally, the Mexican National Welterweight Champion is Cyclone Ramirez. January 12th was the first big show of the year with a few title matches on that card. First up, Angel Azteca would successfully defend the NWA World Middleweight Championship versus Emilio Charlie Jr. Also on that card, we would have the first title change as Piroth Jr. would win the Mexican National Light Heavyweight Championship by defeating Moger. Later on in the month of January, we would get a rematch for the NWA World Middleweight Championship as Angel Azteca would once again defeat Emilio Charlie Jr. Jumping ahead to March 21st, there would be two big title matches. First up, the Mexican National Welterweight Champion Cyclone Ramirez would successfully defend the title versus Fantasma de la Quebrada. The big title match that night would see Liz Mark defeat Fabuloso Blondie to win the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship. On April 1st, 1990, we would get a lucha de apuesta between Pegaso and Corsario Rojo. Pegaso would get the win, taking the mask of Corsario Rojo. On April 15th, Lizmark would make the first defense of his NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship. It would be a successful defense versus Ulises. Fuerza Guerrera would make his next defense of the NWA World Welterweight Championship, beating El Pantera. A fun fact here, Fuerza Guerrera is the father of former WCW and WWE superstar Juventud Guerrera. On May 9th, another big show headlined by two big title matches once again. First up, the Mexican National Tag Team Championships would be defended as Angel Azteca and Atlantis would successfully defend those titles versus Piroth Jr. and Ulises. And also on this show, the Mexican National Heavyweight title was on the line as El Gran Marcus Jr. would beat Pipidicus. I know I'm probably getting that name wrong, I do apologize. On May 13th would be another huge night with three huge matches. First up, we saw a women's championship match for the Distrito Federal Women's Championship as La Serentia would successfully defend the title versus Maria del Angel. Also on this card, a lucha de apuesta, mask versus mask. In this match, we would see La Diabolica take the mask of La Olímpica. And the third big match on this card would see the NWA World Middleweight Champion Angel Azteca successfully defend his title versus El Hijo del Gladiator. On May 18th, a tag team tournament would take place and would be won by the tag team of Angel Azteca and El Dandy. The Mexican national tag team titles would change hands as Bestia Salvaje and Piroth Jr. would beat the team of Angel Azteca and Atlantis. Just a few days later, on June 1st, Angel Azteca would lose the NWA World Middleweight Championship to El Dandy. A championship from a rival promotion would be on the line on June 29th as the UWA World Junior Light Heavyweight Championship would change hands as Pero Aguayo won the title from Ringo Mendoza. Fuerza Guerrera would make another successful defense of the NWA World Welterweight title versus Americo Roca. On July 7th, Angel Azteca and Atlantis would get a rematch versus Bestia Salvaje and Perot Jr. for the Mexican national tag team titles, but were unsuccessful in recapturing the Mexican national tag team titles. On July 26, El Gran Marquez Jr. would make his first defense of the Mexican national heavyweight title, beating former champion Papiticus. On August 1st, we saw another title change as the NWA World Middleweight Champion El Dandy would lose the title to Atlantis. Peroth Jr. would successfully defend his Mexican National Light Heavyweight Championship versus El Faron. And on August 9th, El Gran Marquez Jr. would once again successfully defend his Mexican National Heavyweight title versus Papiticus. On August 15th, the NWA World Light Heavyweight Champion Lizmark would successfully defend the title versus former champion Fabuloso Blondie. On August 17th, the Mexican National Trios Championship would change hands as Los Thundercats would win the titles. On September 2, the NWA World Welterweight Champion Fuerza Guerrera would successfully defend the title versus Octagon. In a rematch for the NWA World Middleweight Championship, Atlantis would successfully defend the title versus former champion El Dandy. On September 21st, 1990, the biggest show of the year would happen in Mexico. This would be EMLL's version of WrestleMania. This would be EMLL's 57th anniversary show. This show would be headlined by a double main event. First, for the NWA World Middleweight Championship, Atlantis would successfully defend the title versus Emilio Charlie Jr. And in the main event, the biggest match all year, a lucha de apuesta mask versus mask, El Rayo de Jalisco versus Cien Caras. This is one of the more famous lucha de apuestas in the history of lucha libre. If you look up online lucha de apuesta, usually you'll find this match on every list. It's a good match, and the winner would be El Rayo de Jalisco Jr. as he would take Cien Caras' mask. Other names that would appear on the 57th anniversary show includes Conan, Los Brazos, Pero Aguayo, and El Hijo del Santo. On October 17th, not even a month after taking the mask of Cien Caras, El Rayo de Jalisco Jr. would win the Mexican National Heavyweight Championship from El Gran Marquez Jr. On October 24th, Atlantis and El Dandy would once again rematch for the NWA World Middleweight Championship, and once again, Atlantis would come out on top. On October 26th, Atlantis would be involved in a lucha de apuesta versus Kung Fu. The mask versus mask match would end with Atlantis coming out the victor. On October 31st, Lizmark would successfully defend the NWA World Light Heavyweight Championship versus Máscara Año 2000. On November 20th, the Mexican National Middleweight Championship would change hands as Octagon would defeat Emilio Charlie Jr. to become the new champion. On that same night, for the NWA World Middleweight Championship, Atlantis versus El Satanico would go to a draw. On November 25th, a tag team lucha de apuesta, mask versus mask match, as Atlantis and Lizmark would beat the team of Animal number 1 and number 2. Two title matches would happen on November 28th. The first would be for the NWA World Welterweight title, as Fuerza Guerrera and Octagon would go to a draw. The other big title match on this night would see a rematch for the NWA World Middleweight title, as Atlantis and El Satanico would go to a 60-minute time limit draw. Two draws for two titles on the same night. On December 1st, for the Mexican National Tag Team title, Bestia Salvaje and Perot Jr. would successfully defend the title against Javier Cruz and Octagon. December 14th would see the last big match for EMLL for 1990, as we would get a Lucha de Apuesta, a mask versus mask match that saw Octagon take the mask of Hurricane Ramirez. The big feud in Mexico for this year was no doubt El Rayo de Jalisco Jr. versus Cien Caras. The number one champion in EMLL for this year has to be Fuerza Guerrera. He started the year as the NWA World Welterweight Champion, and he ended the year as the World Welterweight Champion. EMLL in 1990 would really have no competition. There was only 2 or 3 other promotions in Mexico, including the WWA and the UWA. In 1991, EMLL would officially change their name to CMLL. With the name change would come new championships. The CMLL World titles and the NWA World titles would be phased down. In 1992, Antonio Pena, one of the bookers for CMLL, would leave the company with some of the young talent of CMLL to create AAA. The two companies to this very day are bitter rivals, but that is a story for another video. And with that, that'll be the end of this video. Gracias amigos and amigas, and I'll see you in November as we cover WWC in Puerto Rico.